Okay, so in percent composition, just like you're used to percents being like a company might advertise, they have a higher percent raisins and Raisin Bran. It's just how much it is out of the total. We're looking at the total mass compared to the parts of it on there. So just like you do a percent in math class. If you have a 17 out of 20, you would take your score 17 out of the total score. Now anytime we're multiplying or doing a percent, we need to multiply by 100. So 17 over 20 is 85. These are just whole numbers, 2 sig figs, so 85% is fine here. If these would have decimals, you'd want to add a little more information here. Okay, so here's how we're going to do it. We're going to take the mass of the part over the total mass and times 100. Now sometimes they might just say the cereal has 52 grams of raisins and 85 grams of flakes on there. You would just add those two numbers together to get those, so that goes on top. On bottom is the total mass with it added up. So again, they may give it to you. You may have to find it on there. But what you should know in this is then once you find the percent composition, they should all add up to 100 because you have to account for everything. So just like I can find the percent girls in the school or the percent of students in Fishers who go to Fishers versus HSE, just how many there are out of the total amount. Okay, so if we want to find the percent in this pretzel on here, it has 35 grams of pretzel and 12 grams of chocolate. So my total amount here for this chocolate covered pretzel is 47. So for the pretzel, I'm going to take 35 over 47 and then multiply it by 100 because it needs to be a percent. The chocolate, I would do the opposite. And again, these are just whole numbers, so I'm fine with you rounding these off some. So you could say 75% here is fine. If somebody kept one decimal, I'd be okay with that too. Then I'm going to take 12 divided by 47, multiply it by 100 on here, and then I'm going to get 26% here. So with the rounding, this does get a little bit higher. So this would also be 25.5. Or in this one, this would be 74.5. So you can see here with rounding, it did round it up a little bit and go over 100. That's okay, but we know together answer should be about 100. So something else I could do if I wanted to, if I found one, I would know from my pretzel, if it was 75 or 74.5, whatever I used, if I found the other one, I could also find that same answer that way by just subtracting. Okay, so let's do one where you have to think about it a little bit more because I want to find the percent boys in the class, but they only told me 13 girls. So option number one, 13 out of 30 girls times 100 to make our percent is 43.3% girls or 43%. So I know for boys, I could figure that out, 100 minus 43, that there must be 57% boys. My other way I could do this is I know if there's 30 and 13, there must be 17 boys. So then I could do 17 out of 30 times 100, and I should get the same answer doing it that way of 57% boys. That should say times 100 here. Okay, so for the periodic table, we're going to do something similar, but we're going to use the molar mass on here. So if I wanted to find the percent composition of iron and chlorine in FeCl2, I would have to know the mass of iron in it and the mass of chlorine, but you actually don't need a piece of this to do this. It's always going to be the same. So you're going to take the mass of each element over the total. Now I have 2 chlorines, so when I do the chlorines, I'm going to have to remember to multiply that by 2. Okay, so for Fe, so again this is FeCl2, the first thing I want to do is add this up. So I know iron is 55.85, and I know there's 2 chlorines. So I'm going to take 35.2, so those two together are 70.90, and add the 55.85. And I'm going to get 126.75 as my total mass here. So for iron, I would take 55.85 over 126.75 and then times 100. For chlorine, I can either just multiply the dot or I can put 2 times 35.45 over 126.75 times 100. Since these have more numbers, they have 2 numbers after the decimal, I'm going to go ahead and keep those. So 55.85 divided by 126.75. that is going to be 44.06%. Make sure you label it which element, iron. And then I'm going to take 70.90 divided by 126.75, and that is going to give me 55.94% chlorine. If you want to, you could do 100 minus 44.06 to find that. And that would work as well. Okay, so in this last slide, I want you to come up with your own example of a problem. It doesn't have to be a chemistry-related one, of something you can find the percent. I wanted to have at least one calculation, either where they don't give you the total or they give you one of them and they want to find the other.